Hello, everybody, and welcome back to tracking our local shifting real estate market here in southern New Jersey, Burlington, Camden, Gloucester counties, 900,000 and below. And we're in the third week of January. It's freezing outside, and the real estate market is heating up. Funny little weather quip there. So let's just run through our listings here, but I'm going to end today's video with probably my top 8 recommendations on protecting your house right now with these snapping temperatures. I woke up this morning and wanted to walk the dog. It was 17 degrees outside, and that made me think there are some things we need to do while I was putting his little jacket on to go for our walk, that your house also needs to make sure that you're doing the things to prevent issues from happening there. So let's just run through our quick stats. So the first thing that I noticed, we're down under 1,300 active listings again, which I don't like to see. We had that for a period in March, April, May, June, July of last year. And if you remember, that was the time that we had the sharpest price increase. Okay, so that's my concern. The low inventory right now, with the expectation of dropping interest rates, have started to create a little bit of an upward pressure on price. And I'm seeing that in our median listing price. We kind of had come down off the 340 through the slowness, went kind of hit a bottom of 329 if you want to call it. We're right back up another 6,000 in just a week. So down and then right back up. And that's just speeding back up again, looking at the spring market, looking at these forecasted drops in interest rates. So we had 225 new listings, which compared to last year is about the same of what we had at that time. That's fine. The pendings compared to last year was almost identical at 234, but we're a little bit low. We're a little bit lower on the closed front than we were last year. So a little bit lower on the closed units. The problem that I saw here was that the math didn't make sense here for a second. So we lost, let's say, 50 odd listings from 1341 to 2094. So, okay, we lost about 50 listings. So we put 225 new listings on, 234 were under contract, and only 168 closed. So how did we lose 40 to 50 listings if our closed number didn't go higher than our new listing? I went back and looked into one of the stats that we don't pull a lot, and that's active under contract. Remember, in New Jersey, you have active under contract, pending. Now, what's the difference between active under contract and pending is that active under contract generally means you're still within attorney review, that 3-day period immediately after signing the contract before you start the inspection period. Pending means you've passed that. So I saw that there was almost 100 that went under active under contract over this past week. Now, some of them are formally pending now and things like that, but that's a big number that just went under. So the reason why we're seeing our total active listings drop, even though our closed number was lower than our new listings, is because there was a lot that just went under contract this week. So this was a very fast week for a lot of properties to actually get under contract. We're going to see that, I think, reflected a little bit more as we go out in January and February with some of the closed numbers really starting to vault up a little bit. Okay. Unsurprising, expired, withdrawns, and canceled are still pretty low at the moment. Again, middle of January, some people did it kind of right at the end of December where those were a little bit higher here and there, but not much there. Price reductions were at 106, so around 100. That's kind of where we average sometimes with those. The one thing I'm seeing, though, is, again, we had another small drop in our days on market. So we're starting to see listings come down, days on market starting to come down again, and prices starting to inch up. Now, this is basically like we've just hit the bottom and we're just starting to turn. That's what I want to keep an eye on going forward. I want to keep an eye on our days on market continuing to decrease, median list price increasing, and then the total active available listings. Let's keep an eye on that. I would hate to see this go back down because we knew how difficult it was last year between this April, May, June, July period when the listings were at that, 1,200 or sub 1,200 level. That's when we saw the biggest price increase. So I don't want to see that again right now. Now, let's jump gears a little bit here. Let's talk about the cold. Let's talk about the cold real quick. You're in your house. You are either in a rental, you're either owning a home, you're living with family, whatever it is. But let's talk a little bit about some of the things you can do kind of quickly and easily to, again, protect against the cold. So first things first, insulating pipes, right? Insulate exposed pipes to prevent them from freezing and bursting. Use pipe insulation or towels to wrap pipes in vulnerable areas. For you that have crawl spaces, now if you're in a basement, if it's a finished basement, you probably have heat down there and it's probably helping it out. If you have an unfinished basement, just make sure that it's insulated. You have some insulation along your walls or where the kind of brick meets the wood. Is there some insulation up there and things like that? But still, you have to be cognizant. If your basement gets really cold, you may want to consider getting some of those little slip sleeves for some of your pipes around there just to help keep that water insulated. You do not want to have a pipe burst. That's for me is the most important one, because again, having a pipe burst, there's so many basements I go into that have this green oxidization on a lot of their copper piping. Those are a few degrees away sometimes from creating a pinhole leak, and that could really start to affect, you go to sleep overnight and you could have 2 inches of water in your basement over something you never hear happen or anything, just because a pipe was already on the fritz. All right. Seal leaks. This was one I had to do here in my house because we started getting into the winter period here. I noticed my AC bill last summer was ridiculous. This winter is when I really started to notice that I had some drafts. Okay, so here's some spots that I found I had drafts in the basement again, right where the cinder block meets your sill plate, which is that first piece of wood that all the framers are built up of on. There were some sections that were incomplete, that there was somebody had done some old work at one point and put a board up. Again, we didn't buy this house brand new. This was a 1960s built Cape Cod down here in Runnymede. So I had to go in and pull a board out, and I realized, oh my God, I can feel wind coming straight in. So I boarded that back up. It's much better. The other one that I had was up here in our attic. So in a Cape Cod or a bungalow model, you have this kind of semi-finished second floor with dormered ceilings. That's the ceiling you see behind me all the time. But that can leave a little insulation, and a lot of times that's right next to your living space. So right out this door here, I have another kind of closet. That closet is just going into the eaves of the roof. Well, we have a temperature controlled exhaust fan that's meant for the summer to draw hot air out of that attic. But right now, it's just pouring cold air all into that attic space. And then I have a door there that's, plywood basically. It's not like a thermal insulated door. And I'm putting my hand up against it and it's freezing. So, one is I went and I actually did take a piece of wood and cut it between the two joists. And I put it up there and I hard boarded our temperature controlled exhaust fan right now because we are not using it. Note to self, remember to take that off come spring when it actually starts to get warmer. Two is I took the entire back of the door. I went to Home Depot. I bought an 8-pack of some thermal insulated, and it looked kind of like styrofoam. And I just cut it into the different pieces with a box knife and boarded it all up there. Just those two things. The third thing I did was there were two windows downstairs. One is actually, we have a door to the side yard with a window on it. And then we had another window that was right out to our backyard. And for whatever reason, those windows were freezing. So I did kind of the cheap version of a fix. I just got some of my plastic tarping and some blue tape, and I just went up, again, cut it to size, put it around that window, put the tape on there just to give one extra thermal barrier of some air. My heating bill dropped by almost 20%. 20% just by making those three little changes. So most of the time, drafts in your house are not a all over the place a little bit. You have like 2 to 4 items that are probably causing 80 to 90% of your drafts. Attack those. You will thank yourself in your wallet, and you'll thank yourself when you're sitting there and your feet are freezing in the morning. Okay, so that's 2. Winterize exterior faucets. Go in, and if you do see some of your hoses and things like that, here's my one thing. Don't just wrap a towel around it. The problem is if that towel gets wet, it can actually keep moisture in and help freeze it. What I have seen some people do is they'll take a bundle of straw, put it around that faucet, and then do a little tape job around that to make sure that it's more of a straw finish. That still allows air to flow and things like that, and water can drip out, but it'll prevent a lot of that coming back in. Or the easy fix is downstairs. If in your basement, you should have a shutoff valve for any exterior rated. Just shut that off on the inside unit so that you don't get that issue. And if you wanted to go one extra layer, there are frost-free hose bibs that you can make in as an upgrade to the older spigot style. All right, number 4, maintaining healthy systems. Your heater, right? Your heater is important right now. We have our electric heaters, which are probably working pretty hard and working overtime at the moment. Try and keep those, regular. You don't want to let those go way up, way down, way up, way down. That change in temperature takes a lot more energy than maintaining the temperature. With your gas units, and I do have it down here to monitor your carbon dioxide detectors. That's part of it. But the gas, you should be running okay right now. Same thing. Don't make that go from 65 to 75 to 65 to 75. That's going to really put a lot of work on the system. And then you have your oil units. And again, make sure you're getting your oil supplied. Make sure if you have a drop alarm on your oil tank, if it drops below 25%, that automatically gets your company like 7 Oil or somebody like that to come out and refill your tank. Do not go too low on those things. Okay. And this is where, again, during the winter, you're not opening those windows as much. You're inside all the time. The pets are inside all the time. You may need to change your filter every 45 days instead of every 90 days. And if this is the first time you're thinking about your heater filter in a while and it's been more than 3 months, please go change it. I can guarantee you. Even if you don't have a ton of people in the house, during the winter, you kick up a lot of dust from stuff all the time. Please change out those filters. And a dirty filter will limit the ability for the heat to get to the ends of your system. So if you're in that all the way that one room of your house and you're noticing it's cold, literally just by changing the filter, you may be able to get more heat to that room because it allows that air to push through a little bit faster. All right. Last couple here. Clean your gutters and downspouts. One of the big issues that I had recently over this past big rainstorm is that a piece of my fascia rake board, which is like, you have the roof line and then you have the siding, but there's that white strip. There's that white strip right in between kind of where the roof meets the siding. Well, that ripped clean off. And I had to go up middle of the storm on a big 18-foot ladder and just drill it back into place as best I could just to prevent anything in. But that's happening with gutters. That's happening with downspouts. You're getting ice that's clogging in there, and then it's backing up into the home. So that's one thing too, is make sure you're clearing these out, A, of debris, and B, get up there with like a nice pick or get up with a screwdriver or something and try and knock some of that stuff free if you can and scrape it away from it building back up onto your roof. Speaking of the roof, check. We had a lot of wind. We had a lot of rain. Now we have a lot of sitting ice that's going to be there for a little bit. As this starts to go, just keep an eye on that thing. If you need to call somebody to come out there and take a look at some stuff, do it. If you want to get yourself a long extendable pole that you can kind of knock some of the big extra stuff down, be careful of icicles building up on the side of your roof and stuff like that. We don't want things to fall. Here's one that's very near and dear to me because I was at fault for this one. We have a sunroom. And our sunroom is a 3-season room, so it doesn't have heat or anything like that. And last year, luckily, we brought them all inside early enough this year. But last year, we didn't recognize that it got too cold one night, and we killed a lot of plants because it froze them at their base. So it was really unfortunate. Some we brought back, some we didn't. But that's another big one. Just make sure that you're either bringing them back inside, keep a kind of small area of your dining room where you can kind of keep these things. Do your best. And then obviously the last one, monitor your carbon monoxide detector, right? If you have any type of a gas water heater, you have a gas stove, you have a gas heater, please be careful. You are inside. You are having all your windows boarded up pretty heavily. Any issue like this that happens, it could get dire pretty quickly. So I just want to make sure that across all these things, the carbon monoxide detector is a big one. So just make sure your monoxide detector is working. Test it periodically. I think that's kind of normal stuff there. So anyway, y'all, have a good week. Protect your home against the cold. I don't want anybody to have to run and have insurance claims or issues from pipes bursting or having to spend a lot of extra money on your utilities that you shouldn't be right now. So this is a good little list of everything. So next week we have our kind of 4th week in January. I think technically where we're at in the month, we're going to end up having 5 trackable weeks in January because we did kind of half a week was sort of January 1st. This is going to start speeding up. Right now, things are kind of flying off the shelves seller-wise. We put a listing on last Friday. We had it under contract by yesterday, full price cash offer. So that was helpful, but things are going to move quickly. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up here for our week 3 episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in and talk to you next week.